Help! My classroom is out of control and I don't know what to do. Don't worry, I got you. In this video, I'm going to share with you 6 basic principles that you can use to positively turn your classroom culture around. So my name is Burnett, and this is Counseling with Mr. B, where I help you live, learn, and be stress-free. And part of being stress-free is learning how to manage classroom behaviors. Grad school programs are great, but they don't prepare us for the real-life experiences of being inside of a classroom, delivering a lesson and managing student behavior. Learning how to manage a classroom is a skill. It takes time, it takes trial and error, and practice. The goal of this video is to give you tools and tips that you can use as an educator and professional to positively turn your classroom environment around and make a change. And this way, you can actually do what you were hired to do. And that's teach. This is gonna help your students, it's gonna help you have higher self-esteem, and it's gonna help you be more effective with the things you're trying to do. Everyone has a story. Take this time at the beginning of the year to learn about your students and where they come from and who they are. You can do this by sharing facts about yourself. Tell them about your likes, your dislikes, your family, your hobbies, things that are important to you. And then listen to the things that they share. You can do this in a number of different activities and ways, but it's really important in the beginning of the year to establish that relationship and build that trust. It's so important to take that time on the front end to learn who your students are as people. They're not just students, they're actual people. Who would have thought? Also, take time to learn about your students outside of school. Learn about their family demographics and makeup. Their neighborhoods and the environments that these students come from have a huge impact on the way that they come and learn in school. And so your job as an educator is to learn about their family, learn about where they come from, learn about their family traditions, learn about their neighborhood, like all those things as much as possible because it can affect the way that they learn. Often their home life and neighborhood life are barriers to their instruction. It's unfortunate, but it's a reality. Number 2, meet students' basic needs. Make sure that your students have food, water, shelter, and clothes. If they don't have these things, they can't function well. So you're at work all day long and you're hangry. Think about how it affects your body, your mind, your stomach, and even your emotions and reactions. Students are no different. They haven't learned how to manage their emotions most times, and so it's hard to concentrate and behave and do the things that you need to do in the classroom if you're hungry, if you're worried about your family outside of school, if you don't have a home to go to. There's so many things. Buy some cheap snacks and have them readily available in your classroom. I always go to Sam's or Costco and get some granola bars for my students, and the first thing that I ask them in the morning when they come to see me, like, are you hungry? No. Yes, you are. Here, take a granola bar if you would like, and they usually take it. Showing students that you care is super important because it allows you to build that relationship and trust with that student. Like Rita Pearson says, every child needs a champion. Children don't learn from people they don't like, and that is so true. So you have to take the time to get to know them, show them that you care, and do things to support them and build that trust. Tip number 3, aim for mutual respect. Gone are the days where students are going to obey adults just because they're adults. Show students that you care about them using your tone of voice, your body language, and your actions. You can joke with students, but please don't be sarcastic. Students don't know how to interpret that many times, and sometimes it's hurtful to them. So be careful with the way you relay messages. Show students that you are compassionate, show them that you're consistent, and that you're fair. If you do these 3 things, it's going to help you build relationships, and it's going to turn your classroom environment all the way around. Number 4, set clear and concise expectations. On day 1, don't just start teaching automatically. You have to ease into it and teach expectations, procedures, routines, and systems. And I'm gonna create a whole nother video on how to do that if you've never learned how to do that before. Make sure that your expectations are clear. Write them down, review them, rehearse them, read these to another adult and see if it makes sense to them. And if it makes sense to them, that's good, as you're on the right path. But make sure that your directions are very clear and direct to the point. You have to provide rationale for why you're doing things. I remember when I was growing up in school, we didn't need a rationale. The teachers told us what to do and we did it. That's just the way that it works. But now, because there's so many different things going on and factors that affect education, you have to provide the rationale for students. Tell them why you created the rule that you created or the expectation that you created. They'll have more buy-in that way if they understand why it's going on. Make sure that you are fair and consistent all the time. So if you have an expectation, make sure that you have that same expectation for Johnny and for Bart Simpson. Here's a quick example. Students, when we line up to leave, we always walk because I don't want you to fall or get hurt or bump into someone else. So we make sure that safety is our priority in this classroom. When I call you to go, you line up and you walk to the door. You see how I provided rationale there? I told them what I wanted them to do, and I gave them the rationale and the reason why we walk. Notice I didn't use negative ways to say, don't run, don't do this, don't do this. I positively framed it and said, this is the expectation and this is the reason why. Tip number 5, address misbehaviors privately, not in front of the whole class. Imagine if you were in a faculty meeting, and this has actually happened to me before, and it's not a good feeling. Imagine if your school leader calls you out in front of the whole group about something that you did or didn't do. Imagine how that makes you feel. I remember being embarrassed. I remember feeling like, oh my gosh, everybody's looking at me, they're laughing at me, they're judging me. That's how students feel in the classroom when you publicly address their misbehaviors in front of the whole class. I'm gonna do another video on how to correct student behaviors privately. Just be aware that whenever a student misbehaves, avoid calling them out publicly. Because what you don't want is a power struggle. Students genuinely don't want that type of negative attention. So it's best to provide private corrections to students. Tip number 6, create engaging lessons. When you're teaching or presenting something, reduce your teacher talk. The middle school attention span is between 10 and 12 minutes. And so I try to talk under 10 minutes and I break it up with an engaging activity. You can create visually appealing and engaging presentations with Google Slides. You can use Canva, which is an amazing tool. It's free. And then there's a pro account, but if you're an educator, you can get the pro account for free. Or you can use Slides Go or Slides Mania. These are also free tools that you can use to create visually appealing presentations for students. You can also play games like Kahoot, you can use Nearpod, or you can use Pear Deck. I know that's a lot of technology and you'll have to become familiar with it, but YouTube is a great teaching tool. So type in how to use Nearpod or how to use Pear Deck and just learn for yourself. It's going to take time, yes, but it's gonna help you be more effective as an educator. If you can, incorporate movement into your lessons. Like, I'm not saying dance or whatever, you can do dance breaks, but if you have an activity where students get to walk around or collaborate with other students, that's gonna help make engaging lessons. Do a gallery walk. You can do a gallery walk with any content level. Print out some pictures, create some text under it, and then have students walk to each section of the classroom and take notes. I've seen gallery walks be very effective, and they're very interesting too. And there's different twists that you can put on them to make them more engaging. Also, incorporate different references that students get into your lessons. Like, use pop culture, use music, video games, movies, all those type of things that you know students are interested in. You can even use positive TikTok trends. So it's always good as an educator to stay up to date on the things that are going on, because this is what students love and what they're interested in. So if you have a subject where you feel like students are not listening to you and not really engaged in the material, it could be a number of different reasons. But I can guarantee you, if you start incorporating things that they like into your lessons, it's going to increase your engagement and students are going to want to participate. It's a great way for students to connect with the material that you're presenting to them, and it's a great way for them to remember it too. And here's a bonus tip. I'm not a science teacher, but I remember when I used to be a science coach when I was an assistant principal, and I would see this teacher and she would have these different movements aligned with vocabulary words. She would introduce a vocabulary word and then she would do a little dance or do a different little movement or whatever. Like, I'm giving you an example, like waterfall. And so you would see students when they were taking their quizzes, they would do the little motions silently to themselves. And it's so awesome to see their brains working that way, because it helps them connect the material to the vocabulary word, which helps them with learning and it helps them be engaged. For more resources and tips, please join the Learning Lab. It's a Facebook group that I created where we can network with each other, share resources, and get ideas. I'm gonna share a couple different classroom management strategies in that Facebook group. So if you're not a member yet, join, it's free. I'll put the link in the description below. And most importantly, with all of those tips, it's important for you to build a sense of ownership with it. You're gonna see a drastic decrease in behavior problems in your classroom because students are going to want to perform for you. Again, students learn from people they like. Take the information that I give you, revise it, make it fit your personality and your expectations so that you can provide an environment that students want to come into.